Good evening, and welcome to the Spirit of Abney Awards. Tonight we honor a group of special New Yorkers for great things they do for our city and citizens. This is the Big Apple, and these people bring their talents and big hearts to it. Abney has a wonderful way of pulling different people together. On real issues, the people in this room are sometimes allies and sometimes adversaries, but we are always New Yorkers. Tonight we celebrate a group who embody the best in us, who work tirelessly to bring people together, fight for what's right, and advance a better New York and a better world. One of the awards I know we're all looking forward to is honoring Congressman Jerrold Nadler, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, with the Louis Rudin Award. I was able to take a look at Bill Rudin's beautiful and stirring award presentation to him. Of course, you'll understand that we had to redact most of it, so Bill's remarks will only be a tight 22 seconds. I know for many of you, your choices for this evening were either the Met Ball, fashion's biggest night with Anna Wintour, or here, with us, in a room where the great Jay Kriegel is a style icon, and fashion forward means we harangued you into wearing one of our gold apple pins. And while the Met Ball is an important and wonderful New York institution, I want to thank you all for choosing Abney, choosing policy over paparazzi, and coming out to support our mission as we honor these great New Yorkers. I want to take a moment. I want to take a moment to recognize the passing this weekend of two civic champions of New York. Dick Brown, who served as DA for over 25 years in Queens. Judge Brown was a constant presence in Abney and a consistent defender of our city's values. We also lost former Brooklyn City Council member Lou Fidler, a great public servant who advocated for homeless LGBTQ youth. We will miss them both, and our thoughts and prayers are with their families. Now, before we present the awards to our honorees, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the public servants who are here and our civic leaders. I'd ask you to hold your applause till the end. Gail Brewer, the Manhattan Borough President, Eric Adams, the Brooklyn Borough President, Council members Carolina Rivera, Ben Kalos, Helen Rosenthal, Vanessa Gibson, Robert Cornegie, Kalman Yeager, and Francisco Moya, Deputy Mayor Vicky Bean, City Planning Commissioner Chair Melissa Lago, FDNY Commissioner Daniel Nigro, Ruth Ann Visnaskis, Commissioner of the New York State Division of Housing and Communal Renewal, and new CUNY Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez. Please join me in thanking them all for their public service. I want to thank our generous sponsors who are listed on the wall behind me, and I want to say a special thank you to the owners of Rockefeller Center in the Rainbow Room, Tishman Speyer, to E.B. Kelly, to my sister Michelle Adams, who always do a wonderful job for us on this and in the most incredible space in the city. And finally, I want to thank all of you for supporting the Abney Foundation, which will continue to fund programming, research, organizations, and initiatives aimed at making our city a better place to live, work, and visit. At the top of our list initiatives for the coming year at Abney is the census, making ourselves heard, fighting for an accurate count, and doing outreach and engagement to make sure we get what we deserve, and also that those who need to be protected are protected no matter what their status as citizens. Now, on to our honorees. We will be handing out 5 prestigious awards tonight, and unlike the Kentucky Derby, we will not be taking any of them back when the night is over. In 1971, Lou Rudin gathered 125 business leaders. I'm very proud to say my dad was one of that 125, to help tackle monumental issues facing New York. Louis was Abney's first chairman, and in his memory every year, we honor a great New Yorker for civic achievements with the Louis Rudin Founders Award. Lou Rudin's legacy truly lives on today in his son Bill, who, like the rest of his family, embodies the Rudin family value of giving back to New York. He joins us to present the first award. Please welcome a great friend and a better man, Bill Rudin.
First of all, how about a big round of applause for Steve and the great job he's doing. So I have the unredacted version here, and we're very honored and I'm personally proud to give out the Lou Rudin Award to, I think, all of our great friend, Congressman Jerry Nadler, a lifetime New Yorker who, for over 25 years, has honorably served New York and has been through the tough times and the good times. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge Joyce Miller, the Congressman's wonderful wife. Joyce, where are you? Somewhere. Congressman Nadler's path to service for New York began as a state assemblyman. He was still in college when he won the election in 1977 while he was attending Fordham Law School. Jerry was then elected to the House of Representatives in 1992, where he represented the Upper West Side, Lower Manhattan, parts of Brooklyn. Jerry has fought tirelessly for New Yorkers, both through the fiscal crisis, through 9/11, through Sandy, and so many others. After 9/11, nobody thought Lower Manhattan could come back, but we were lucky that we had Jerry in our corner. Congressman Nadler worked tirelessly to secure the $20 billion for the recovery work. He originally co-sponsored and co-authored the Zagroga Act. Jerry also helped design the Victims' Compensation Fund to ensure that the families battling 9/11 related illnesses were given the resources they needed. Then after Hurricane Sandy, which devastated Lower Manhattan, Red Hook, Seagate, and Coney Island, all communities that he represented, he was hard at work again to make sure that we weathered the storm. We were very lucky that we had Jerry in our corner. During the critical months and weeks, Jerry pushed for the relief effort that was so important for our recovery, securing $60 billion. The inflation over the last 15 years was present to get our region back in recovery. Now, as the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, he is on the front lines protecting immigration and voting rights and our Justice Department oversight. Now, it is just not New Yorkers who are lucky to have you, Jerry. It is our whole country. We can all say we have Jerry in our corner, standing up for what's right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Jerry Nadler. Steve, hold on.
Well, thank you very much. It's really an honor to be honored by Abney and by Bill Rudin and Steve Rubenstein and everybody else who are here, and I really appreciate this recognition. Let me say, I'm getting a lot of publicity lately, as you know. Not because I have changed in any great way what I'm doing in Congress or anything else, but because I happen to be in the right position, or in one of the right positions, in a central battle where we are facing an attack on the constitutional liberties, on the separation of powers, on the tripartite separation of powers, such as we haven't seen really since the aftermath of the Civil War. And we have to be able to hand it down to our children as democratic, with a small d, as democratic a nation with as robust liberties as that we inherited. And that is very much in question now. And I don't know if the word lucky, but I am lucky enough to be in the position, in one of the key foci positions of waging that battle. And we must wage it, and we must win it, because whether this country becomes a quasi-monarchy or not is very much at stake. So I am privileged to be in a position to wage that battle, and I'm very grateful for all of those who supported me over the years so that I'm in that position. And I'm very grateful for this recognition and for everything we can do for our city. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. It brings me such great pride to give this next award to Mayor David Dinkins. Woo! We honor him for his accomplishments, his grace, his class, and his integrity. I hope I can look half as good as he does when I'm 91. Hell, I'd like to look half as good as he does right now. Mayor Dinkins' career is historic. He was the first and only African-American mayor of our city. He launched dozens of careers, and he has inspired even more dreams. If you look back, you will see a man consistently ahead of his time. He was among the first African-American members of the U.S. Marine Corps. He is, without question, the man who put us on the path to being the biggest safe city in America, creating Safe Streets, Safe City. Since everybody loves some data, crime declined for each of the last 36 consecutive months in his term, something he does not get nearly enough credit for. He initiated the revitalization of Times Square. His lease with the USTA kept the US Open, the largest economic development sports event in the country, in our city, and contributed to the public good by building new parks and tennis courts here. And, maybe most notably, he spent his career committed to the critical issues we now know were the right ones to focus on, such as affordable housing, mental health, and homelessness. When I got married, I got married at Katz's Deli. We did black tie at Katz's Deli. My in-laws, who can only be described as waspy, were like, the Jewish kid has lost his mind. My in-laws are wonderful. So the mayor comes over to me and hugs me, and he says he never misses weddings, how he loves weddings. He loves seeing people at that moment in their lives. And what I thought was so interesting, I was so struck at the time that the reverse is true, right? I thought how meaningful it was for me to see him. And every time I see him, I'm struck by how meaningful he really is for all of us as New Yorkers to have someone like him in our lives. He taught us that we live in a gorgeous mosaic where we could be different, be ourselves, be our unique selves, and still contribute to something bigger together. So it is my honor to present Mayor David Dinkins with the Spirit of Abney Award.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just sorry my bride isn't here to. When I come home and tell her about this, she won't believe it. Now, this is really quite nice. And to see the name Rubenstein and the father of the son of the great Lou Rudin on the announcement meant a lot to me. Because you talk about two guys that really loved this city and did a lot for it. It is they. And so I'm so pleased to be here. I recognize that the reason that I'm being acknowledged is because of my advanced years. And I understand that, but I'll take it anyway. Thanks a lot.
Next up, I am proud to present this award to Melissa DeRosa, who is the first, all right, Melissa DeRosa. She is the first woman to hold the position of Secretary to the Governor, a role she took on during an especially tumultuous period in our country right after the election of Donald Trump. If we look at other state houses in the nation, you see a lot of craziness, but not in New York. Under the leadership of Governor Cuomo, with Melissa as his top aide, we can still pass on-time budgets, limit spending, protect our values, and build things. She has a clarity of purpose, an endless internal drive, and practical approach to getting things done. And she is not afraid to tell hard truths to anyone, even to our governor. As chair of the New York State Council on Women and Girls, she runs an agenda to promote opportunity, equality, and fairness for women in New York. I am the father of 3 girls under the age of 7, and for this reason alone, I take great pride in giving this award. The Council's values are reflected in many of this administration's signature issues: raising the minimum wage, the strongest paid family leave in the country, and tuition-free college for the middle class. Her work was also crucial to the passage of the Reproductive Health Act, which guarantees a New York woman's right to choose, no matter how others in Washington may try to interfere. She's an architect of the Women's Equality Agenda, a series of laws aimed at achieving pay equity, strengthening human traffic laws, protecting domestic violence victims, and ending pregnancy discrimination in the workplace. Please welcome my friend, a hero to women and girls across New York, Melissa DeRosa.
Good evening. What an incredible honor this is, and it's particularly humbling to receive it alongside Jerry Nadler, Mayor Dinkins, Hector Figueroa, and Rabbi Bakdal, public servants whose contributions to New York are clearly unparalleled. I love government. While most kids wanted to be astronauts or doctors, I've always wanted this job. And I know that saying that means I should probably have my head examined, because it's actually true. I love the unparalleled impact it has to effectuate massive change, and I love the accountability demanded by a system that empowers people to literally overthrow it every 4 years. That love is rooted in getting things done. I remember the pit in my stomach watching marriage equality voted down in 2009, and I remember the tears in my eyes 2 years later watching as the Cuomo administration passed marriage equality, forever changing the national conversation about how we see and treat each other. From that moment, I wanted to be a part of it. I am, admittedly, a little bit competitive, somewhat bare-knuckled, and even more controlling. So some could say I found the perfect fit when I joined the Cuomo administration. The governor compared joining the team to getting up off the sidelines. He told me that everything I had done up until that point was minor league stuff, that the New York governor's office was the major leagues, and that the ball would come at your head fast and hard, and days would be taken over by unforeseen crises, natural disasters, and entrenched legislative battles. It was about moving the big picture forward while being nimble enough to handle the unforeseen. And it was hard, but it was supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it. I thought he was being dramatic. I learned quickly he was not. I've held several jobs in the administration, and the roles changed and the responsibility grew, and as it did, there were good days, hard days, and 6-ish years of sleepless nights. When Governor Cuomo offered me the job of secretary, it was a bit of a tortured process. Being a student of history, he talked about the historical nature, that there had been governors going all the way back to 1776, and not a single one chose a woman for that position. He was clear that my gender did not play a role in his decision, but that I should recognize its significance. I wasn't sure I wanted the job, not because I didn't think that I could do it, but because I had a fear that many women face. I was afraid that I would be judged, not based on my competence or on my experience or ability, but on my gender, that it would become about my father or about my husband. I suggested taking on more behind the scenes without the secretary title. The governor responded in a way that only he would, telling me that that was weak. That small-minded people would always find ways to undermine and objectify, but succumbing to them wasn't an option. And when some political adversaries and members of the press responded exactly as I feared they would, he told me to get over it. It was time to get past it and get to work because we had big things to do, and big things we have done, exactly none of them easy. I truly believe the Cuomo administration has been the most effective in the state's history. I'm proud of that fact. But the truth is that while it's always been important, it's never been more urgent. Between the hostile federal government taking aim at this state on what feels like a weekly basis and a Democratic Party undergoing an epic identity crisis, this administration has been a steady hand on the till. We believe that progressive leadership is not incompatible with being pro-economic growth, that people want to live and work in an inclusive society that respects and protects their rights while also demanding a sane, responsible government that balances budgets and keeps taxes low, and that politicians who are big on words and short on results are nothing more than paid complainers. Lou Rudin founded ABNY in the midst of a fiscal crisis in 1971. He pulled civic leaders, titans of industry, forces within labor, and government officials together with the simple yet profound sentiment that strength came from unity and that prosperity of New York was a collective responsibility. We may not be in a fiscal crisis today, but in peril is a generous way to describe our country. And I can say firsthand that the sentiment and spirit from 1971 is alive and well. I don't know it in the abstract, I live it every single day. I experience it with 5:30 a.m. texts with Bill Rudin organizing on SALT, or Saturday afternoon calls with Kathy Wild to get businesses engaged in the MTA crisis. It was there in countless strategy sessions with Hector Figueroa to get a $15 minimum wage to a Republican Senate. And it's at dinners with Stephen Rubenstein to map out a game plan to ensure that every New Yorker is counted in the upcoming census. That is the strength of ABNY. And the collective that ABNY fosters. And that is the power of New York. Because here in New York, we don't sit on the sidelines. We dive headfirst into the deep end, and when we do, it's helpful to know that you have a lot of friends ready to swim with you. We lead by example, and when we set out to do something, we get it done, and the rest of the nation follows. So thank you to Stephen Rubenstein and all of our friends here tonight. I personally couldn't do my job without you, and New York is a better place because of your commitment to it. Thank you.
Our next honoree is someone I have admired mostly from afar, but recently got to know better through ABNY's work on the census. Hector J. Figueroa is the president of the largest property services union in the country, 32BJ, Service Employees International Union. Under Hector, his organization has grown by over 50,000 members and now represents over 175,000 property service workers up and down the East Coast. They serve vital parts of the New York economy, working alongside all of us every day in Broadway theaters, office buildings, in our airports. They're on the job before we get there, after we leave, and every moment in between. Hector is a true champion in advancing the dignity of work and workers in New York and across the country. And the growth of his membership is a true testimony to his values, his vision, and his leadership. Hector has championed issues we all applaud. He advocated for and helped raise New York's minimum wage to a more livable $15 an hour. Instituted a minimum wage of $19 per hour for airport employees, helped deliver 12 weeks of paid family leave for New Yorkers, an issue he has successfully advocated for up and down the entire East Coast. He fought to expand language access, promote immigrant rights, and protect hard-working New Yorkers from unfair targeting by ICE. And he was a big voice on bringing Amazon HQ2 to New York, embracing the chance to expand unionized worker values to the largest corporation in the country. Hector is truly a visionary who fights tirelessly for his members, just as he embraces the long-term value of working across ideologies and sectors to develop real solutions. To honor his advocacy for workers' rights and promoting a sustainable economy, it is my great honor to present Hector Figueroa with the Spirit of ABNY Award.
Buenas noches. Thank you, Stephen, for that introduction, and Abney for this award. Our relationship with the Rudin family goes decades and decades. I want to thank Bill and Eric because, quite frankly, Abney is one of those spaces in my mind that we need today the most. A place where all sorts of people from labor, business, government can come together, can debate issues, learn from each other, understand the value of sound policy, and have one commitment, one goal, and that is to build a better New York City that can really influence how we build a better country. So I want to give you a hand. I deeply believe in that mission. So I just want to say a few things, but before I do, I want to thank Mayor Dinkins, and Melissa De La Rosa, and Governor Cuomo and the team. When we started the airport campaign that Stephen alluded to, and Melissa, that set, with the help of the governor, the highest minimum wage in the country, $19 an hour for airport workers. At the very beginning of that campaign, Mayor Dinkin met with the workers. He was gracious enough to stay with us as we were establishing a majority in all 14 contractors at the airport. And that inspired the workers, and without his help, we probably would not have been able to take off. So thank you so much. And to Melissa and the governor's team, we're going to continue to work together to better New York City, New York State, and the country. And yes, we need sound government that is committed to good jobs and strong communities. So the one thing that I want to leave you tonight is with one thought. And if I can have your attention just for a few seconds, and then we can proceed with the program. And obviously, I congratulate all honorees tonight. I'm humbled to be here before you today. There are 130 million workers in the United States of America, roughly. Of those 130 million workers, 80 million make less than $10 an hour. Of those 130 million workers, 54 million workers were making less than $15 an hour. When we started the campaign for the 5 for 15, it was very challenging. I have many friends in labor and in community and in government and in business that thought that that could not be possible. Today, 24 million workers are on the path to 15 or have received wage increases as a result of the 5 for 15 campaign. And I deeply believe in the value of collective bargaining. I'm a labor leader. I am the son of a teacher, and both my parents were teachers, and I learned that from early on. Members of the Hotel Workers Union in my family. And I can tell you that collective bargaining works, and we have, together with the real estate industry in this city, built middle-class jobs for thousands and thousands of workers. Our union has grown throughout the East Coast out of relationships like that, from 125,000 members when I became president to today 175,000. So I appreciate the relationship, the collaboration, the understanding, even though sometimes we may have friction at the bargaining table. That is how we build understanding, by being able to talk to each other and negotiate. And the last thing I want to say is to all of you, let's strive for better communication. Let's strive for more collaboration. Let's strive for more partnerships. The world needs more than ever an inclusive society, an inclusive government. And we have to do that from the corporate halls to the labor union halls through government. We have that mission. We have to come together, or otherwise very strong currents of division will prevail and will make it more and more difficult to have the city, the state, and the country that we all deserve. Thank you for your attention, and God bless you.
All right, for our last award, back to Bill Rudin.
Okay, so this is the last award. And the spirit of Abney is an evening that we take a moment to reflect on what's happened in the past year. And obviously, many things have happened positively, but negatively. There was the very sad shooting just a few weeks ago in San Diego, right after Passover. There was the Sri Lanka Easter bombing. There was the terrible shooting in New Zealand at the mosque, and then the burnings of the African churches in Louisiana. And then, of course, the Pittsburgh synagogue shootings. These are just a few of the tragedies that have occurred, and that is why we thought it was important to shine a light on something that was positive and very Abney-esque. On March 20th of this year, just a week after the horrific attacks in New Zealand, the Midtown Mosque Islamic Society had a fire in it. It's on 55th Street between Lexington and 3rd. And the leaders of Central Synagogue, which I'm a congregant of, immediately responded. They're right on the corner of 55th and Lex. And they opened up the doors of the synagogue, welcoming over 600 members of the mosque into their shul so they could pray. They did that for 2 nights. In 1998, Central Synagogue was devastated by a horrific fire that closed the synagogue for 3 years. So we thought it was important to recognize how Central Synagogue played it forward, opened up the Jewish synagogue to a Muslim group and let them pray. So it is my honor to acknowledge Central Synagogue and the Islamic Society of Midtown. And we have here tonight my rabbi, Angela Buchtal, who representing Central Synagogue. So Angela. Steve, let me go ahead.
I have to say, I really should not be up here with this award. And this is not just some female modesty thing. I really shouldn't. You see, I wasn't even actually at the synagogue when this amazing event happened. I was going out of town when it was my colleagues who called me because they were standing outside the mosque because of the New Zealand shooting that had happened just a week before. They were standing out there in solidarity and support with our Muslim neighbors. And it was only because they were there that they heard the fire department tell them, I'm sorry, your mosque is not able for your worshipers to come, as hundreds of people started gathering outside the mosque. So I gave it the green light when they gave me a call, but it was my colleagues who were there, my colleagues who welcomed them, my colleagues who set up impromptu hand-washing stations for their ritual, who found a place for 600 pairs of shoes in our lobby, and who welcomed people from so many different countries praying in our sanctuary. So it really is them, and when Bill told me that he wanted to give me this award, first of all, I learned a long time ago, you don't say no to Bill. But I said, it can't be me, it really needs to be the Central Synagogue team. And he said, okay, we can make it that. But even then, I have to say, it feels strange for Central Synagogue to get an award for an act which seems like a basic, simple act of neighborliness. And I think that that's unfortunately a sort of sobering statement about where we are in the world today, that a synagogue opening its doors to a mosque for worship is newsworthy or even award-worthy. But I guess it is. And I think that the reason that I want to stand here today is to attest to the fact that there is such important power in us just being good neighbors right now to each other. And that is what we need to celebrate as New Yorkers. This is who we are. And I want to tell you the real story, because after the post went viral, and that was fun, and we had like a half dozen news networks talk about it, because I think we hit something right in that moment with what was happening in houses of worship all around the world. But the best thing that happened is that a real friendship was forged out of that fire. And so the week after we hosted them, Imam Duadar, the imam of the Midtown Islamic Center, invited our clergy team to come to worship with them on Friday. He wanted to thank us and honor us. And then he gave a sermon, and his sermon honored us even more, because he said, when we had the opportunity to pray at Central Synagogue, that was one of the holiest moments I've ever had in New York. And he said, What it gave us an opportunity was to share with the world that at the foundation of all our faiths is a call to bring more love and more humanity into the world. He said, you know, we share a prophet. You call him Moses, we call him Musa, one of the greatest prophets of all time. But he is the namesake of a great Arabic philosopher. We call him Musa ibn Maimon. You Jews call him Moses Maimonides. And he quoted Moses Maimonides. He said, Musa ibn Maimon said that if you are using your religion to bring more hatred or violence into the world, then you are interpreting God's word incorrectly. I thought we should all be hearing this statement. So coming out of that, we invited Imam Duadar to speak and sing at Central Synagogue just this last Friday night after the shooting in Poway in San Diego. We were reminded that that shooter who shot up that synagogue bragged about burning a mosque. And you realize hate is hate. It was indiscriminate. It was us, but it could have been them, and it could have been the Christian church down the street. But I also am reminded that love is love. So when Imam Duadar got up there and shared his message of peace, and then we sang a song about building the world in love in English and Hebrew and Arabic from the Bima of Central Synagogue, that to me is the real proud moment of what began out of that fire. So it is a testament to New Yorkers being good neighbors to each other, to opening our doors across lines of difference, race, religion. This is who we are. That is what has made our city great. And it is on behalf of those values that I'm really proud to be able to receive this Abney Award. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to say the words, the New York Post went viral, and that was fun. Words never uttered at City Hall. So 2 quick things. Delta has been kind enough to give a raffle here for 2 tickets anywhere in the United States. Thank you, Delta, but please drop your tickets there, your card there. I want to thank our honorees. And then one last thing, I want to thank the Abney staff, led by Angela Sung-Pinsky, our executive director. It is a little bit of a bittersweet night for us because 3 of our staff will be leaving. Deputy Director Amanda Rothman-Papier is leaving to go to SIPA Columbia. Program Member Manager Morgan Perlman will go to Stanford Law, and Christopher Speraza has been chosen to be a Schwarzman Scholar. Thank you all for what you've done, and thank you all for supporting the Spirit Award.